So I wonder if pointing out the piss poor job that the FBI did concerning the Florida shooter is attacking the integrity of the FBI, because they were informed last month by an acquaintance of Nicholas Cruz that he was acting erratic, he had a weapon, and that he was potentially going to shoot the school or shoot up the school. They were also informed like a year ago about one of his messages that he made on a YouTube account, and they didn't really bother to follow it up. So while they're focused on trying to prove that Trump is colluding with Russia, while they're focused on, you know, wasting all of their time on bullshit like this, they're letting actual potential murderers go loose, right? And in my opinion, they kind of want these attacks to happen. They don't really care too much. Every once in a while, they'll stop it to say, like, hey, we're doing something. But generally, you find that a lot of these terrorist attacks that do happen, a bunch that happen in Europe, a bunch that happen in America and stuff, the FBI are notified and often are aware of the person's intentions. So they always sit back and they wait, and then occasionally they'll come out and they'll be like, "Oh, look, we caught this guy." But you know how many times the police and the FBI kind of like entrap people or try to make people do things? Like they're like, you know how the cops, they'll catch people for like prostitution. There'll be like some woman, she'll pretend to be a hooker, and then she'll get in a car with a guy and she'll be like, "Oh, hey, pay me and we'll have sex." And he'll be like, "No, no, thank you, no, thank you." And I'll be like, "No, come on, come on, let's do it." And he'll be like, "No, no, no, thank you." It's like, "Please, come on." He's like, "All right, fine, let's do it." And they'll be like, "Oh, I'm a cop. You're busted," right? So I think that a lot of the ones that they do catch, it's because they're fishing for these people, and then they help radicalize them a lot of the times. And then they're like, oh, "Okay, fine, I'm gonna go blow up this building, this, and that," and then they catch them, and then they're like, "Oh, see, we're doing our work." But this, look at, they just let this guy go. Like there was plenty of warning. Like all the kids have were saying, like, if there's gonna be a school shooter, it's gonna be like this guy. Like they didn't bother to do any investigation whatsoever. So what the fuck are they really doing? Really? Like, and like I said before, is this attacking their integrity? Is this attacking the FBI? It's like, no, it's pointing out their shit job, their shit piss poor behavior. And the same thing with the Trump collusion thing, and pointing out the Peter Stroke guy or whatever, Strozak guy, and the other things that the FBI is doing that is showing their bias. Pointing that out does not mean you're attacking the institution of the FBI. You're attacking individuals within it. And even if you are attacking the institution, that's okay, because people are acting like, "Oh, how could you attack the CIA, the FBI? These organizations have done so much for us and so much for the people of America." It's like, really, have they? Look at the history of the FBI. Look at the history of the CIA. And generally, they've screwed over your countries. They've gotten you into wars that you didn't need to go into. They've given you false information about weapons of mass destruction, and they get you into conflicts you don't need to get into. So the media, always coming to their defense, exposes them for being, a part of the deep state, or whatever you want to call it, because they condone literally everything they do. And they're like, "Oh, don't question them whatsoever, because they're the arbiters of truth." Of course, if you question them, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're insane. Look at all these other companies and other agencies, these secret agencies, the NSA, they also agree with us. It's like nobody even knew of the creation of the NSA. That was created secretly, and now it's supposed to be an institution that everybody's supposed to trust. And then they bring out the head of the CIA at the time, I think it's Jack Taper, who lied under oath And everybody's like, well, how could you question this guy? It's like he lied under oath about the existence of the NSA, all this shit. So they're counting, they're banking on the fact that we have short memories and that we don't remember this shit. But this is just another nail in the coffin of the FBI, because they're wasting time looking up Russia collusion when they could actually be stopping criminals. And this is what's happening in Europe with the police in the UK spending all of these resources looking up hate speech, hate crimes, and shit on Twitter. They're putting all this money, yet there's an increase of acid attacks. There's an increase of stabbings. There's an increase of Islamic terrorism. All this, but they're focused on hate speech. They're focused on nonsense bullshit. This is all they do. They're complaining about Russia influencing the American election. They've indicted all these Russian trolls essentially, but they do the same thing. They do the same thing to Russia. They do the same thing to other countries, to Egypt, the Arab Springs. They manipulate countries to follow the will of America, to become, they institute dictators in other countries that just, are American allies, right? They've ruined Iran. Iran used to be a lot more liberal and shit, and it's because of America's intervention that Iran is like the way it is now. So, these institutions like the FBI are not really good for anybody. And maybe now that Trump has new leadership in there, it might be a little bit better. But these institutions, these things will always be corrupt. They will always abuse their power, even though Trump put somebody else in there now. Eventually, they're still going to, do misinformation. They're not going to change because, they have all this power that we've given them, or that the American citizens have given them. And in Canada, we have that CSI, right? And we give these institutions power over us. And when you give people power, they will abuse it. This is human nature. As soon as you create these power structures and you put somebody on top of it, and they're given all this ability to do what they want, they're going to abuse it. So Trump replacing this guy is a temporary band-aid and will expose some things, but they're still going to keep a lot of what they're doing secret, even though they have this new guy in there, right? They don't want to expose their nefarious ways of getting information and their tactics, right? They want to expose it because they know that the average person would see that and they'd be like, no, that's not right. We should not be allowing them to do this. But they want this. They want the cover of secrecy. And the Democrats and all these establishment Republicans and stuff like that, they're all clearly in the pockets of these people. They're all part of the deep state because they're all covering for these people. Actions speak louder than words. If these institutions are constantly lying, or constantly letting terrorists go, and letting murderers like this piece of shit in Florida kill all these people, then how much trust should you really have? And how much trust should you have in these media companies that are telling you not to question them? It's like Como, when the whole WikiLeaks thing came out. Like, oh, you don't read it because this stuff is illegal. Let us read it for you. As soon as you hear something like that, that should set off some red flags in your mind to maybe be a little bit wary about what these people are saying to you, about the narrative that they're pushing, that they're spewing. But, that's all I pretty much had to say on the matter. And, be skeptical of the FBI in the future, and don't hold them to such high regard because clearly they've been shown to at least be inept in their job. And like I said before, they couldn't track this guy. Like a year ago, somebody had reported one of his YouTube comments, and they're like, "Oh, we can't really track down this guy." It's like, man, you're telling me that the FBI does not have the technology, the capabilities to find out who made a YouTube comment? It clearly was not that important to them. And yes, I understand they probably do get a lot of messages every day that are like, "Oh, there's a potential. This guy wants to shoot this up. This guy wants to shoot that up." But it's like, this one clearly needed to have somebody to look it up. And there, if you do look at the previous cases of a lot of the terrorist attacks, the FBI and a lot of these organizations were aware of these people beforehand, right? So there's clearly something wrong with this, with the way they are managing the system, or they're just deliberately letting it fucking happen. It's one or the other, in my opinion. But if you like my content, subscribe and have a good day. See ya.